Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this evening. In today's episode, this video, we are going to just do a bit of a trade recap on everything that revolves around the Collingwood Football Club that happened today. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to cut straight down to it. I feel online there's a little bit of a divide with how we've gone in this trade period, and I think because of the expectation, and hear me out, I think it's because of the expectation that we have based on the trade periods that we had all the way back in, like, let's say 2009 going into 2010 with Darren Ball and Luke Ball and Darren Jolly coming into the side. Then obviously end of 22, the Tom Mitchell, Bobby Hill, Dan McStay side of things, which proved to be a premiership winning trade period. And then also the stuff with, last season getting Dan Houston and Harry Perryman and Tim Membry in the side, which obviously made us better. Just on that too, I think just for everyone saying stuff about Dan Houston next season, we're going to see a different Dan Houston. We're going to see a Dan Houston used to our system. We're going to see a Dan Houston that's just going to go nuts, I reckon, next season. I think it's something that we can really look forward to. And that's the thing. We had our hopes sort of built up that we're going to do something like that. That was never the reality. We're always talking to players. We're always trying to get midfielders. We're always trying to get forwards. We're looking at defenders. Obviously, we wanted to try and get Jack Silvani, and that didn't happen. We were looking at Stephen May. We decided not to go down that path for whatever reason. There's players that we did look at. Clayton Oliver was probably the only one that I think that we truly missed out on. Now, I'm going to talk about the Simpkins stuff. I'm going to talk about Jack Steele. I'm going to talk about all that stuff in a minute. But let's just focus on what we actually got. So we started off and we got some picks with Brisbane and stuff like that swapped around, which was really good. And then obviously it meant that we had a little bit of capital in regards to the point stuff, getting our NGAs sorted out and obviously having those extra picks. Then comes the stuff with Jack Buller. Now, Jack Buller, obviously I think he played 9 games in 2025. He kicked 11 goals. And, there's something that we need to really think. This guy's young. I think he's like 24 years of age or whatever. He was picked up mid-season by Sydney back in 2023. Played a game, had a bit of a back injury in 24, had the surgery and stuff like that. And he broke into the side towards the back end of the season for Sydney. And I think the stuff that we need to remember with this is the fact that he broke into the Sydney team when Sydney was playing good, when Sydney was still a chance to make the finals. He came in, played 9 games, had an impact, kicked 11 goals. Sydney obviously wanted to keep him. The offer that they gave him wasn't enough. He wanted to come to Collingwood. Collingwood wanted him. We were going to get that deal done one way or another. So, with that being said, I said it in the live last night. I've said it in a previous video. We lose Brody Myercheck to Melbourne. We were going to lose him through the delisted free agency. We ended up trading him off. We got some picks in. And to be honest, I think it's just a really good result for everybody. We got a young forward in who can play full forward, which means Dan McStay can probably play centre-half forward, or Buller can play centre-half forward, and Dan McStay can play full forward. So that dynamic there is going to be grouse, especially when you've got Bobby Hill back playing good footy. You're going to have Jamie Elliott for another 2 years. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to take away from this whole period, even though it wasn't in the trade period, the fact that we re-signed him. The fact that we re-signed Jamie Elliott, who was our key forward for the entire season, and we didn't lose out on him. So now you add another young key forward into that mix with the development of Charlie West, and then you got Will Hayes that will come into the midfield and push forward as well. Bo McCreary's going to go in there. Lockie Schultz will be in there. I said Bobby Hill as well. I mean, it's the forward. The forward line is looking fantastic. We're going to get Jacob Blight, the listed free agent from Richmond, most likely, so then he can contest in the back line. You're going to have Reef McGuinness in the back line coming back from his knee, Rico. I mean, there's just going to be such a push for spots in the side already, and preseason hasn't even started. We're just finishing off the trade period. You look at our midfield. Now, we missed out on Clayton Oliver. That's probably the one that burns and stings the most, because in the day, GWS are paying what is it, up to $600,000-700,000. Sorry, Melbourne are paying up to $600,000-700,000 of their salary, of his salary, and the fact that it went for a third round pick or a future third or whatever it was, we could have sacrificed a second or a future second and given Melbourne a better deal. In fact, if he had nominated Collingwood, and this is the part where the only thing I think that we failed in this trade period is that we weren't more proactive when the call came through. What we should have done was right then and then called him and said, yes, we want you, come to Collingwood. We should have been more basically on the front foot, and maybe not even allowed him to go to Sydney and said, no, listen, if you're going to go to Sydney for whatever, then you're going overseas, don't go yet. Like, postpone it, whatever. I know it's hard, it's easier said than done, but we should have been more proactive in that sense, because what we could have done is, with Melbourne not going down the free agency path with Brady Myercheck, because it would have diluted the pick that they got from the AFL because Charlie Spargo went to North Melbourne. What we could have done right there and there is made a deal, maybe even Checkers and a second rounder for Clary. Melbourne covered that. Everybody's happy. So I think that's the one area where we failed. Now, the whole Jack Steele side of things going to Melbourne, a lot of Collingwood supporters online were saying we should go for Jack Steele. If you're going to go for someone like Jack Steele, in my opinion, keep Tom Mitchell for another 12 months. Just keep him for another 12 months if you're going to go down the path of Jack Steele. And I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, he would have been good for youngsters. Maybe would have been good for Pendles and stuff like that. But when push comes to shove and we're getting outplayed by a side like Hawthorn, Jack Steele's not the midfielder that's going to control the game and try and win you the match. He's not that player that he used to be. He'll be okay for Melbourne, but that's somewhere where you need someone like a Clayton Oliver who can grab the ball, who can do what he needs to do, who can feed it out to allow players like Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos, Isaac Quainer, even an Ed Long and stuff running through the middle, even a Jack Crisp running through the middle and being able to deliver into the forward line. So I think that's probably one thing that we need to not stress about, the fact that we didn't go for him, even though, Melbourne got him pretty much for nothing. It doesn't suit us in our age demographic and where we are sitting at the moment. Now, the stuff about Jordan De Goey, never going to leave. Geordie was never going to leave. Leper came out and said it. Speaking of all the stuff that Lepich said, pretty good poker player. We need to understand that we knew that this trade period wasn't going to be as active as what we were previously. We are setting ourselves up with an increased salary cap next season, with the picks that we've got available, with the players that are going to retire and more delistings. We are going to have a treasure chest of money with picks available to attack the Bailey Humphreys, to attack the Zach Butters, to attack the Ben Kings, to attack any other big name player that wants a trade. We have set ourselves up for the next couple of seasons to be in a really strong position. Doesn't mean that we're going to contend for the flag next year. We're going to be thereabouts. We know we're going to be thereabouts. I mean, even if we miss the finals, we're probably going to have patches during the season where we're going to be really competitive and stuff like that. But this sets us up not just for next season, but for 27 and 28 when Tassie come in, 29 and going up to 2030. This trade period now, hold back a little bit, and it's going to set us up to go nuts within the next 5 years and land not just one, but a couple of big fish that could potentially want to trade out. And I'm looking at Bailey Humphrey and I'm looking at Zach Butters. Every club's going to go after him. We know that. But this puts us in the mix. This puts us right at the front of the queue to be able to accommodate the club that they're coming for, contract demands, and obviously for our salary cap also. Jai Simpkin. Would Jai Simpkin have made Collingwood a better side next year? Probably. Would he have made us a premiership winning side next year? I don't think he's going to take us to that level. I think the club did really well in not folding and not giving North Melbourne the potential 2 first-round picks, because if we had given up potentially 2 first-round picks or even 1 first-rounder, which Lepich said never was offered, it was second-rounders, and telling them that we'll pay the things, so don't worry about negotiating the pay, which would have worked in North's favour, I don't think that would have put us in the position that we are now going forward for the next few years, because we wouldn't have had those first-round picks to play with we wouldn't be in the conversation for Zach Butters. We wouldn't be in the conversation for Bailey Humphrey or Ben King or anybody who we're looking at. So I think we did well there. I think we did really well being able to stand our ground and saying, okay, you rate him like this because that's what he's like inside your four walls. But from what we see from the outside, and perception most of the time is reality, he's not worth that. So he wants to come to us. Yep, great. We've spoken to him. This is what we're giving you. You don't like it? Okay, sorry, mate. You're not coming. What do we get in this trade period? We add Jacob Buller. We add Jack Buller. We add pick 45, pick 56, pick 61, and a 2026 fourth rounder. We lose Brody Myercheck, pick 59, 71, and a 2026 third rounder. We actually did pretty well. Considering that we didn't have much bargaining chips, we did pretty well. Quickly, before I finish up this video, this is just for everybody to see. This was taken off another page. I think it was by the side-by-side page on Twitter. So credit to them. Lockie Sullivan obviously has signed another contract, so don't worry about that. But that's pretty much who's out of contract now. Next season's going to be massive. Jack Crisp was out of contract. Ed Allen, Tim Membry, Jacob Bryan, all these players here are out of contract for next season. So, I still think society will go another year. We don't have to worry about these guys just yet, or these guys going up to 2030. But this is going to be massive here. This 2026 period where we sign players here, this is going to be huge. This is going to allow a lot of salary cap space for us. This is going to, maybe one or two or three or four re-signings here for 1 or 2 more years. Some players retire, some players get delisted, and we go forward from there, and we allow ourselves to have the best possible. Look forward with our cap and obviously with picks and stuff too. So I'm pretty happy with the positioning of the club. We have to also understand that we're coming off. It's not that we're coming off a premiership, but we're coming off an era where we're losing eventually these premiership players. We are not going to rebuild, but we're not going to bottom out and rebuild. We're going to rebuild and still be highly competitive and launch again. If that means we have to go through one season being mid-table or thereabouts, between 5th and 10th or whatever it is, that's fine. I'm happy with that because it just means that we can catapult ourselves up to contend for many years to come. Patience is a virtue. I know obviously not too much. We've tasted the flag a couple of years ago. We know what it takes to get there. With the list that we've got, the core list that we've got, minus Tom Mitchell because we don't know what's happening yet, minus Mason Cox because we don't know what's happening yet, Oleg Markov, Will Hoskin-Elliott, who are the guys that actually played a fair chunk of senior footy. We dominated the eventual premiers for 40 minutes of football, and we lost the prelim final by 4 or 5 goals to the team that won the flag. We are not far off. And I think what Lepic has done in this trade period, it's nothing too special, but it's just what we need going forward. So keep the faith. This has been your trade recap for 2025. We've got the draft to look forward to. We've got the delisted free agency pickups. We've got the rookie draft, the SSPs. We've got all that stuff coming up. It's not going to stop. It's going to be fantastic. This is an exciting time of the year. And then, believe it or not, in 7 Mondays' time, preseason starts. And then it all starts again. So it doesn't stop here in the Black and White United channel. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Make sure you drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Call it as you see it. And as always, go the Pies.